Rachel and Cynthia for the wonderful presentation. Briefly, I would first just like to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Merlene Castillo, the current chair of the Sandy Beach Women's Cooperative, who has been really the guiding light of this project from the start, and who is a tremendously powerful woman, as many of you will know, and who has been struggling against very difficult circumstances to maintain the cooperative, but it has succeeded. The cooperative is still there. And if I could add, perhaps, since I have the floor, I'll perhaps add one or two brief remarks. First, I'll just say that I think when we reflect back on the time period immediately preceding the recording of the extraordinary album Watina, which needs no introduction here, it's hard not to recognize that Andy and the other members of the Garifuna collective knew what they were doing when they decided to move as a group to Sandy Beach in Hopkins. They recognized that there were many brilliant musicians in the Garifuna community, not only in Belize, but also in Honduras and Guatemala. But to record an album like Watina, they would have to come together someplace, and organize themselves, and live together, and struggle together through music to realize their conception of the world. The reason that album is so brilliant is not just because the musicians as individuals were good. We know that. It was because of the way they were able to unify in the context of that particular place to express something of Garifuna Duo. So there's a very clear relationship then between the recording and the celebrated album and the place. Well, the album won all these great awards, as we know. World Music Album of the Year, one of the all-time greatest albums, etc. But if you go to the place where the musicians lived and recorded that music today, there's not much happening, honestly. And so that's where Merlene Castillo and the other women said, we need to build something here, which also helps resolve the contradiction that Rachel spoke so eloquently to, the problem of competing against much better financed tourist initiatives. And so my final remark will concern the economic form of this group. And perhaps this offers a segue to our next speaker, who I understand will be speaking about eco-socialism as an indigenous economic strategy. We're speaking of a cooperative, the first women's cooperative in Belize, and one of the oldest cooperatives of any kind in Belize. It's still kicking after all these years. It's important to recognize not just that it's a women's cooperative, but it's a cooperative. It's an effort, therefore, by a group of women as producers to organize themselves on a basis where they can sustain their livelihoods without taking the form of a capitalist firm. It's quite striking that they're still there and they're still trying to succeed on that basis. Unfortunately, that means that they face difficulties recruiting young, talented laborers that large, well-funded firms do not. And so we have a challenge then to reflect upon how to realize the possibility of cooperative, non-capitalist forms of economic organization at the local level. And there's a great deal that I think we can all do to contribute to that struggle. Well, that's enough for me. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks to Cynthia and Rachel for representing our team so brilliantly. Over to you.